I'm taking the liberty, but thank you, Jamshed, and thank you for being considerate, Sanjay, Anil, and Suman. I have to just go for another meeting with the Honorable FM. We are this time around, after many years, launching the disinvestment program from tomorrow. So we're going to kickstart what all of you have been telling the governments for many years to do well in time. Is going to start in April itself, and probably the first week of April, yeah. I hope some people at least will stop saying, don't see any difference on the ground. Thank you for this opportunity. I was just mentioning to Sanjay that on a second day afternoon of any conference, it's only CII who can pull together such an illustrious set of people. And I must compliment all of you for your interest in what's happening in the country, in your and my lives, and what way we are going forward, particularly when we look at energy security. Thank you, Jamshed, for your opening comments. Very clearly, you have set the agenda, which should be the agenda of any well-meaning, well-thinking government. At the end of the day, we cannot completely ignore the environment. However, we cannot at the same time let development suffer. And it will be the role of any government, and in that sense Prime Minister Modi has more often than one articulated environment and concerns for the climate to be an article of faith for him personally and for his government. And all of us are very conscious of our duties to the people of India, are very conscious of leaving behind a better world to live in for the next generation. And at the same time, we'll also have to make sure that electricity is available in abundant measure, and it is available consistently and at affordable prices. And clearly, if I don't give power at affordable prices, the rest of the people who are left in this room, though I think it's a full room, I don't see any chairs empty, would also be going into the other room where you could possibly get for some time electricity at half the price. It's a challenge which is not impossible to achieve, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very convinced that what we lacked over the years was not the ability to give power, was never the ability to perform better. We probably lacked decisiveness, we probably lacked a vision, we probably lacked some innovative thinking. In some measure we lacked integrity in government, in politics, in processes and procedures. And if one was to summarize it, I think if a country moves with a sincerity of purpose, with a visionary and decisive leadership, to my mind there is no challenge which cannot be overcome, least of all the challenge of giving 24/7 power to every nook and corner of this country and make all of you free from diesel generators. India today produces about 1 trillion units of electricity, 8 lakh crore units of electricity. We've grown by about 10.5% last year, which is the highest growth in the history of India in one single year. 10.5% electricity generation. Of course, if one was to look at statistics, we've added 22,700 megawatt of installed capacity in the country, mostly thermal, in the last 1 year, which is again a record in the history of India. The peak shortage, the energy deficit in the country is at 3.6%, the lowest in the history of India. Transmission, which has been the bane of India, the bane of the sector, and Anil was just mentioning to me, please focus on transmission. But God gave me that message on 30th June last year itself, when the thunder and storm in Delhi made sure that the lines collapsed, and all of you would call me at 3 o'clock in the morning, we don't have electricity. And when we got down to studying it and realized that it's all a game of transmission and last mile distribution. And clearly that will have to be my priority. And in the last 12 months, we've added 22,000 circuit kilometers of transmission capacity in 1 year. It's the highest ever in the history of India. Of course, we've just concluded a major portion of the first stage coal auctions. It went very smoothly. We had very, very good participation from most stakeholders. A couple of blips here and there, but we are sorting that out. But the bigger picture is that coal production in the last year, and largely in the last 10 months, because the first 2 months was flat, has grown by 8.5%, 8.3%, which is the highest in the last 23 years. And coal being an essential ingredient to any level of energy security that India wants to provide to its people, and also ensuring affordable power. So effectively, one was to see, we've had a good year gone by. It's encouraged us to think more aggressively for the years ahead. I mean, just before I came here, I was sitting with the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, and we were working out our energy efficiency plans. And we've scaled up the demand, or scaled up the ambitious target, and scaled down the time within which to achieve it. So we are now looking at saving 100 billion units of electricity consumed pan-India by 2017. So I want the year 17-18 to demonstrate a saving of 10% in the current utilization, be they the use of more extensive use of LED bulbs, LED street lights, its industrial efficiency. We are looking at replacing tube lights. There's still some technological challenges. We are looking at seeing how we can look at fans, and finally air conditioning, a huge drain, particularly in the peak hours. And all of this put together can actually light up the lives of the 280 million Indians who today, as we speak, 67 years after independence, are deprived of a basic amenity like electricity. My father studied under street lights in a small place in Haryana, and I'm sure none of us in this room would like anybody else in the next generation to have to study under a street light. There cannot be anything more painful than a student deprived of the ability to compete on equal terms with electricity at his home, with some proper decent home for him to live in and study in and work in, with a proper facility for water, for sanitation. Some of the basic things that any of us takes for granted in our lives, but we still have millions and millions of people all across the country yearning for a better quality of life. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the mission that this government has embarked on. Within that mission, securing India's energy security is an extremely critical element. And broadly, to my mind, there are only two aspects of this, of a more secure India, an energy secure India. One is our ability to influence and appropriately utilize global energy resources, which would mean what would we do about natural gas, how would we ensure our oil supplies are smooth, at best value, do we have adequate strategic reserves. These are resources where we will be dependent on the international arena to provide us energy security, but our ability to influence that international arena, our ability to withstand international pressures. Prime Minister Modi spoke about nuclear energy, I believe, yesterday, when he spoke about the contribution of the world to make India more green, to move India towards more renewable sources of energy in terms of adequate fuel supply, consistent supply of nuclear fuels. But that all is only possible when we as a nation can deal with the world with a degree of reciprocity, with a degree of confidence, equality, and not as subservient to the rest of the world. And the second aspect of energy security would be, how can we fully harness and optimize the use of our domestic resources? Domestic resources could be coal, it could be the sun, it could be wind, it could be water, it could be our ingenious minds, it could be our technological superiority. As someone here was talking, it could be our ability to co-generate more power within our existing factories, whether it's the sugar mills, whether it's the pharma companies. How can we use our waste and bring waste to electricity or waste to heat to serve our Make in India program? Effectively, the idea before us is, how do we increase the share of domestic resources and make India more energy secure, and wherever we are dependent on the rest of the world, how we can deal with them on equal terms, get the best deal for India, provide long-term contracts for the security of our energy supplies. And broadly, this is what this government is focusing most of its energies on, as we set about our target to give 24/7 power to every person in this country, to every home, every industry, every office. We've had a fair degree of success. In fact, my coal secretary is very concerned that, sir, if you're going to increase Coal India's production to 1 billion tons and supplement them with NTPC and all other private players also mining coal in a big way, we are probably looking at a situation that I won't know where to sell the coal after 2.5 or 3 years. I'm fairly confident we won't need to import thermal coal at least. I've just asked CMPDIL, and I've also asked some foreign exploration companies to help me look at more coking coal in the country. We need to rapidly ramp up our coking coal production and make India free from import of all sorts of coal. But I can assure you, Sanjay, I can assure you, Mr. Sardana, thermal coal this country will not have to import 2.5 years down the line. We have sufficient coal resources, we have sufficient ability, and having seen the ability to deliver that even a company like Coal India has. Coal India's production has grown 7% in the last 10 months, rather the last 1 year. If you take 10 months, it's probably 8%. Now this is growth which has never been seen before in Coal India. Coal India was growing at what, 1.5% CAGR last few years. Between 2010 and 2014, they added 30 million tons of production. And between June of 2014 and March 2015, we've added 32 million tons of production. And it's possible. It's the same people. It's the same technology. I've not even got down to technological interventions. I still haven't got McKinsey or KPMG or any of those whom we are talking to actually sit down and draw better mining plans, to draw better machinery, to draw schedule of how we are going to get better machinery to bring out the coal from the underground mines, to improve our overburden removal, all of that. There's so much more that can be done. And when we are setting targets, I'm happy to set challenging targets. So when I became the minister, I was informed that there's already a 20 million ton shortfall in last year's production. So it is 462 last year against 482 which was expected. And then 482 was to become 507. So growth of 25 million tons. So obviously the bureaucrat will come and tell you that, look, we are already 20 million down, you've just become a minister. So let's reset that target to maybe 480 or something. But I preferred to keep it at 507. I thought, let there be a challenging target. And when I said that we'll continue with 507, let's try and make up for some of that 20 million shortfall of the past. I knew in my mind, and I said it in the meeting, I promise you, I said it in the meeting. I said, but bear in mind, the headline in April is going to be, Coal India misses its target by whatever we'll miss it. And that's what I read 2 or 3 days back and was so amused that there is no appreciation in this country quite often for anything that you may do. The fact that it has done an 7% growth in 10 months, a record of sorts, did not find mention anywhere in the system. I won't talk about any particular set of or an institution. But clearly, I'm happy. I'm happy to have failed by 3%. But I'm happy that I set a 10% target so that at least we could reach 7%, rather than a moderate 4.5%, and sit back with satisfaction that I've achieved something great. And that's what we are planning to do, ladies and gentlemen. But as we get a grip on things, as we get more and more hands-on, as we are able to invest in each of these sectors with modern technology, with innovation, that a lot of ideas come from all of you. Every interaction I've had, I've learned something new. And taking that forward, I'm convinced that we can do 1 billion ton. The same set of people who did this 494 million tons last year are going to give you 1 billion ton in the next 5 years. Also, every aspect of the power generation chain, be it the renewable energy sector, which Jamshed talked about, we are looking at ways to get the gas industry at least somewhat back into stream. Some people may feel, why are you planning only 30%? The constraining factor is not my ability to support the industry. The constraining factor is my ability to convert LNG to natural gas. It's the regasification of LNG which is holding me back. And now we are looking at expanding LNG facilities so we can get gas to also keep increasing its output. Similarly, on the renewable energy side, we are looking at what we can do to bring about innovative financing solutions and improve the counterparty risk and bring down the cost of solar energy or wind energy. And I'm happy to share with you a model that we are almost there. I think another, on the 9th and 10th, I'm talking to all the power ministers from all over India in Guwahati, where we have a conference. And I'm going to share with them the whole details of the model. You will see solar power in this country at 4.5 rupees a unit. I may have a 1% increment over 25 years, 1% a year increment, but it will still be less than what we are paying today for solar power. And of course, we are trying to also improve on the counterparty risk. We are working on dollar tariffs. I've thrown the idea in public domain. I've received a few suggestions, a few comments, which we are now sorting out and working on. We're creating an escrow which will be a hedging mechanism. We are working on all of that. But you will actually have the ability to look at solar power in this country sub 4.5 rupees. Solar, wind, all of that before Sumant gets panicking. You find it solar? Okay. All renewables in this country have the ability to serve India at affordable prices. They have the big advantage of giving you power, particularly solar, in the day hours when India needs it most. In fact, as we speak, India has so much surplus power which people are not buying. So in the daytime, there is power available, at least in the northern grid and the western grid. But the states which need that power are not willing to pay for it and buy it. In terms of nighttime power, India has so much surplus power that you could actually get it at ₹1.5, Mr. Sardana? ₹1.5 or 2 rupees at best in the night time. And there's so much potential for all of us to use some of this to advantage, to business advantage, to bring down your cost of manufacturing. But the overall idea, the overarching theme is keeping costs low, creating a more secure environment where our dependence on imports is brought down, ensuring all businesses prosper. As probably Mr. Jetli has mentioned in Parliament, this government believes that unless you prosper and pay your taxes honestly, we are not going to be able to serve the poor. So it's very important that this shared responsibility, which is the theme of CII's National Council meeting this time, this shared responsibility cannot just be a shared responsibility between different ministries. It cannot just be a shared responsibility between the center and states, but it will have to be a shared responsibility of stakeholders across the spectrum, be they the manufacturers, the generators, the distributors, the consumers, the bureaucracy, government, the political establishment, hopefully also the judiciary and the media. In that sense, if everybody was to have an understanding of each other's position, everybody was to have the trust in each other's problems, in each other's needs, in each other's integrity, I have no doubt in my mind that we can actually look at a situation where come 2019, India's power production would be at least 2 trillion units, giving you a growth of 100% in the next 5 years. A coal production of 1.5 billion tons, which gives you a growth of nearly 1.5x, 150% growth. Renewable energy growing 5x from its current level of 60 billion units of energy to about 300 billion units of energy that we are planning. A transmission and distribution network across India which can serve every home in this country 24/7, uninterrupted, at affordable prices. And this whole process will have to work in a more holistic environment where energy efficiency and conservation has its own role, where dirty energy pays for clean energy in terms of the expanded coal cess that we have imposed on the coal industry, which has almost been quadrupled in less than 10 months. So in another 3 or 4 years, we'll be collecting nearly $5 or $6 billion to help us fund the clean energy and the Ganga rejuvenation plan. And all of these work in a holistic fashion where each segment of this industry supports the other segments to make India a great place to work in, a great place to do business in, and energy a great sector to be investing in. I'm extremely confident in my ability to perform. I hope I'm not being immodest, but it's truly, when I speak of my ability, it's the ability of the team that works under me. I'm sure you'll appreciate that I didn't do anything in the coal auctions. It's a set of people who worked day and night. It's a set of people who worked with honesty and integrity. It's a set of people who put in their best mind to work to devise a mechanism which would bring transparency and honesty into the whole system and a fair degree of fairness. It's a set of people who over the years have not been empowered to work in an environment of trust, in an environment which helps them to put their best foot forward. And it is that same set of people who, given the right environment, can bring down a small thing like the cost of purchase of LED bulbs from 310 rupees, at which the government was purchasing LED bulbs as recently as February 2014, to 81 rupees and 93 paisa on 22nd March. It's the same people. The specs are not changed. The qualification has not changed. There is no change. I'm stating on record before the cameras, it's the same product, absolutely the same product, shade better if at all, at 26% of the price at which government was purchasing less than 13 months ago. That is, ladies and gentlemen, the ability of India. And that is the ability for all of us to work together, take this shared responsibility and be able to make a difference to the lives of the 280 million who today don't have electricity, to make a difference to the lives of maybe another 500 million who are suffering power outages and power cuts and load shedding day in and day out, to improve the lives of the farmers who have the ability to do better but don't have the necessary power, necessary water, adequate technology, seeds, maybe understanding, skill development. We need to, all of us, work together to take this message to the last man on the street. And I'm very convinced that if we all work together, take the responsibility of India on our common shoulders, we can certainly change India from an underserved, energy-starved or energy-deficient nation to an energy-surplus nation which not only provides for everybody in India, but I do hope to see in the days to come at least a SAARC framework in which India becomes the supplier of energy to the entire SAARC grid. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your patient listening. I'm sorry I may not be able to stay for questions, but we'll be happy to engage on another occasion on a more detailed way. I do have to go and finalize what we are hoping to launch tomorrow as the first disinvestment of this government in the new year, in the first week of April. Thank you very much.